Private equity can feel like the opposite of simplicity. Complicated deal structures, fancy terminology, people talking fast, promising more. And yet many thoughtful investors are drawn to it, not because it's trendy, but because private equity can offer something real, ownership in actual businesses with real value. But here's the problem. Most of us don't know where to start. How do you choose wisely without drowning in details? In this video, we'll explore a minimalist approach to private equity, less noise, more clarity, so you can make calm, confident decisions on your own terms. Private equity means investing in private businesses, companies that aren't listed on the stock market. It could be a startup, a local manufacturing firm, or even a profitable business quietly growing behind the scenes. These opportunities can offer higher returns than public stocks, but they also carry more risk, more complexity, and far less transparency, and that's where many people feel stuck. You're interested, but not interested in stress. You want to grow your money, but not lose your peace of mind. That's why this video takes a different approach. We'll look at private equity through a minimalist lens, not from Wall Street's perspective, but from yours. You'll learn one clear mindset and 3 simple filters to help you invest with focus, without the overwhelm. Start with what you understand. When it comes to private equity, most people get stuck right at the start. They get handed a pitch deck, a data room, maybe a 40-page document full of projections, acronyms, and financial models, and they're told it's a great opportunity, don't miss out. But here's the truth. You should be able to explain your investment out loud in simple words without needing a spreadsheet or a script. If you can't explain what the company does, how it makes money, and why customers keep coming back, then you don't understand the business. And if you don't understand it, you probably shouldn't invest in it. That might sound overly cautious. But in a world full of noise, clarity is a strength. You don't need to be an expert in every industry. You just need to be honest about what you do understand. Let's say someone pitches you a healthcare software company that's raising $2 million. They're targeting hospital systems with a patient journey optimization platform. Sounds good. But what does that actually mean? If you can't explain it clearly to a friend or to yourself, then you're not ready to put money into it. Now compare that to a different scenario. A local logistics business is expanding its fleet. They have a strong base of regional clients. You know how they make money, deliveries on time, with real contracts. You understand their cost structure. You understand their market. You might even know one of their customers. That's clarity. You don't need big buzzwords. You don't need to chase the next unicorn. You just need to know what you're investing in. Because minimalist investing is not about saying yes to the most exciting thing. It's about saying yes to what you actually understand. Here's a practical rule you can use. If you can't explain the business in 2 calm sentences, don't invest. This one rule can save you years of regret. Investing in something you don't understand is like driving at night with your headlights off. You might be heading in the right direction, but you won't see the danger until it's too late. So take your time, ask questions, and don't be afraid to say, I don't understand this yet. That's not a weakness, that's wisdom. Because in private equity, what you say no to is just as important as what you say yes to. Trust the operators more than the numbers. In private equity, it's easy to get distracted by spreadsheets, revenue forecasts, profit margins, valuations, IRR. But here's something many investors learn the hard way. Numbers don't run a business. People do, and the best financial model in the world means little if the people behind it can't deliver. That's why one of the simplest, smartest things you can do as a private investor is this. Pay close attention to the operators. Who's running the business? What's their track record? Do they listen more than they talk? Do they give straight answers or circle around the hard questions? You're not just investing in a company. You're investing in a team, a mindset, a way of working. Here's a simple mindset shift. Invest in people you'd trust to run a small family business with your own money. Because when things go wrong, and in business, things always go wrong at some point, you want people who don't panic, don't hide, and don't blame. You want people who stay calm, solve problems, and tell the truth. A polished pitch is nice, but it's not enough. In fact, the more polished the pitch, the more you should look underneath. Are they humble? Are they realistic? Are they open about the risks? A founder who admits what they don't know is often more trustworthy than one who says they have all the answers. Here's a practical example. You meet two founders. One is charismatic, confident, and speaks in buzzwords. They talk about scaling fast and disrupting the market. But when you ask how they'll acquire customers, the answer is vague. We're still figuring that out. The other is quieter. They speak plainly. They tell you they've landed 5 paying clients in the past month by knocking on doors, sending emails, and showing up in person. They know their numbers. They're not flashy, but they're consistent. Who would you rather trust with your money? In minimalist investing, character matters more than charisma. You're not looking for hype. You're looking for habits, discipline, focus, follow through. Because in private equity, the path to success is rarely smooth. And when the storm hits, it's not the spreadsheet that will steady the ship. It's the people at the helm. So slow down. Watch how they talk. Watch how they act when they don't have all the answers. And remember, it's better to invest in an average idea led by excellent people than in a perfect idea led by the wrong ones. Avoid complexity that doesn't serve you. Private equity deals often come wrapped in layers of complexity: convertible notes, preferred shares, waterfall structures, cap tables that look like puzzles, terms that take a lawyer to explain. And while some complexity is necessary, especially in larger deals, much of it is just noise. Or worse, it's confusion dressed up as sophistication. Here's a simple principle for minimalist investing. If you don't understand the structure, you don't understand the risk. And when you don't understand the risk, you're not investing, you're guessing. The truth is, complexity can be a way to hide things, sometimes unintentionally, other times very much on purpose. You don't need to understand every legal nuance, but you should understand the basic flow of money. How do you invest? When do you get paid? What happens if things go well or don't? If the answer isn't clear, that's a signal to pause. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine someone offers you a slice of cake, but before you eat it, they explain there are 5 layers, some of which you can't see. Also, the frosting may or may not be included depending on certain conditions, and someone else who helped bake the cake gets the first bite no matter what. Would you still feel good about eating it? Now compare that to a simple cake, one you can see, one you can taste. You know the ingredients, you know who gets what. It may not be fancy, but it's honest. Private equity can be the same. A simple investment structure doesn't mean small returns. It often means clear returns. For example, a direct revenue share deal. You invest $50,000 in a business. They pay you back a portion of their monthly revenue until you've received $75,000. No equity, no exit required, just a straightforward agreement. That kind of simplicity doesn't work for every business. But when it does, it's clean, it's clear, and you know where you stand. Now compare that to a deal with 4 classes of shares, performance hurdles, exit clauses, and convertible debt. If you need a 30-minute explainer just to know when you get paid, that may not be a peaceful place to put your money. So ask yourself, is this structure serving the business, or just complicating things for investors like me? As a minimalist investor, your goal isn't to master complexity. It's to avoid unnecessary complexity so you can make clear, confident decisions. Because complexity is often just cost in disguise, and clarity is a form of protection. Choose fewer, better bets. In private equity, it's easy to feel like you need to say yes often. Opportunities come fast. A friend calls about a startup. You meet someone at an event with a once-in-a-lifetime deal. You hear that others are getting in early and you don't want to miss out. But here's the truth. You don't need many investments. You need a few good ones. That's the heart of minimalist investing. Private equity isn't like the stock market where you can buy a little of everything. Each deal requires time, attention, and trust. It's a relationship, not a transaction. That's why it's better to go deep, not wide. Think of it like gardening. You don't plant 50 seeds and hope for the best. You plant a few. You water them. You give them light. You watch them grow. Private investing works the same way. Each business you invest in should be one you understand, believe in, and are willing to be patient with, because private equity is not liquid. You can't just sell your investment tomorrow. Your capital may be tied up for 3, 5, even 10 years. So the fewer investments you hold, the more important each one becomes. That's not a downside, that's an advantage. It means you can focus, you can choose with care. You can say no to 90% of deals and still do just fine. In fact, the most successful investors often pass on dozens of deals before saying yes to one. They're not looking for excitement, they're looking for alignment. Here's a simple filter to use. Would I be okay holding this investment quietly for the next 5 years, even if I didn't hear much from the founder? If the answer is yes, that's a good sign. If the answer is no, you're probably relying too much on hope or hype. And here's the deeper truth. Fewer investments also mean fewer distractions. You're not checking in on 10 deals, wondering what's happening with each one. You're not chasing updates. You're not overthinking. You've made a few thoughtful choices, and now you let them play out. It's like owning just a few pieces of clothing you truly love. You wear them often, you take care of them, and they serve you well. So resist the urge to diversify for the sake of diversifying. Yes, you want to manage risk, but spreading yourself too thin can create a different kind of risk, losing focus, losing peace of mind. Minimalist investing isn't about saying yes more often. It's about saying yes more carefully. And sometimes the most powerful investment decision you make is the one where you quietly say, "No, thanks, I'm waiting for the right one." Align with your life, not just your wallet. It's easy to look at private equity purely through a financial lens. What's the return? What's the risk? How long until the payout? But here's a deeper question. Does this investment fit into the kind of life you want to live? Because money is only one part of the equation. Time, energy, attention. These are just as valuable, sometimes more. When you invest in private equity, you're not just writing a check. You're entering a long-term relationship. You might get quarterly updates, requests for advice, follow-up rounds, or invitations to events. Even if you're a passive investor, your mind stays partly connected to that business. So the real cost of a private equity deal isn't always in dollars. Sometimes it's in mental clutter. Here's a simple filter. Does this investment bring clarity or tension if the business is in a field you don't believe in? If the founder's values don't match yours? If the deal structure keeps you second-guessing yourself? Even if the returns look attractive, it's probably not worth it. Let's take a real-world example. You're offered a stake in a fast-growing e-commerce company. The numbers are solid, the founders are confident, the projections look good, but something doesn't sit right. The business is in a product category you don't use and don't feel great about. There's aggressive marketing, lots of hype. You worry it might be profitable, but not purposeful. You could invest, but you'd be carrying quiet friction every time you hear about it. Now compare that to a slower, quieter business. Maybe it's a small software company or a food brand with a clean mission. Maybe the returns won't 10x your money overnight, but you understand it. You like the people, you support the product, and, most importantly, you feel at peace holding it. That's alignment. It doesn't mean you only invest in things that are personally meaningful, but it does mean you avoid deals that leave you conflicted. Because minimalist investing is not just about reducing financial risk, it's about reducing mental weight. Every investment you make should move you closer to a simpler life, not just a richer one. So before you say yes to any deal, ask, will this distract me? Will this feel heavy? Will I be proud to be associated with this? If the answers are clear, calm, and positive, you're probably on the right path, because in the end, your investment should reflect your values, not just your goals. Minimalism in investing, like in life, is about choosing what truly fits and letting go of the rest. Let's step back. Private equity doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't need to be a finance expert. You just need a clear mind. Start with what you truly understand. Bet on people, not just projections. Avoid structures that confuse more than they clarify. Choose fewer investments, but choose them with care. And above all, make sure each investment aligns with the life you want to live. Minimalist investing is not about doing more. It's about doing less, better. When you invest with intention, not urgency, you give yourself more peace, more clarity, and more space to grow on your own terms. Let others chase what's flashy. You're building something quieter and stronger. If this video helped you slow down, think clearer, or feel a little more grounded in your approach to investing, consider subscribing. We don't chase trends here. We don't overcomplicate. We focus on simple, timeless ideas for money, focus, and life. If you're new to the channel, explore more of our videos on calm finance, intentional living, and working with purpose. This isn't about doing everything. It's about doing what matters, one step at a time, one thoughtful choice at a time. Thanks for watching. And remember, learn, focus, improve, the simple way.